Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's September 28th, 2022. The leaves are starting to change. They're not quite at the stage yet where I'm going to take you on a walk and see some of them and what's going on, but they are starting to change. The fruit is pretty much all eaten by the birds. You can hear some of the crows that are out there. People working away. Maybe even a woodpecker or two. Anyways, today we're going to go back into my dad's stamp collection. We're going to look at Canadian stamps from 1994 on a few years. I'm not sure how many years we're going to do, but that's what we plan on doing today. So if you've been following along since the beginning, and we've had a few videos to get us to this stage, hopefully you'll enjoy this as well. So here we go. So 1994 started off with these low value stamps. I still use these today. They still put them out. And there's some of these. You're not going to see any originals on this page. My father has marked it where he's got them elsewhere. We've got some apple trees and the other sort of low berry fruit bushes. And then they get into these larger value, the Canadian Architecture series. So we've got one and a $2 stamp there. And then 1994, they came out with a 43-cent stamp Canadian flag. These ones are quite interesting. The varied shape. You got one going left, one going right. Then a smaller size of the snow apple. So you saw it on the first page there, a little bit bigger. Both of those came in booklet sizes too. Oh, page is stuck. There we go. Jean Sauvé, Governor General. You guys played lawn bowling before? How about lacrosse? Are you familiar with these games? The wheelchair marathon, these are all Commonwealth games. Cycling and diving and high jump. About Mr. Eaton, famous department store. The art series, we've seen a number of those over the years now. Some Rivers of Canada. Bishop, famous for shooting down the Red Baron in World War I. United Nations International Year for Family Stamps. And then there's the whole booklet of them together. You can see how the pictures go beyond the stamp onto the outlining area. We have this one as well. Here's different trees for Canada Day. And here they are as individual issues. If you're into maple trees, big leaf maple, sugar maple, the silver maple, Manitoba maple, Norway maple, straight maple. Did you know there were so many different maple trees? And I guess the maple leaf being Canada's emblem on their flag. It makes sense. We have some automotive stamps. And then the individual ones of them. See, my father had the originals, but not in the singles, but in the booklet. And then here you can see he's marked where he's got them elsewhere. Prehistoric animals. Continuing of the 50-year anniversary World War II stamps. And here you can see those same small denomination stamps again, where he's indicating he's got them page 208. And then the 3 different colors of the Canadian flag, different color backgrounds. Once again, these architectural stamps. And the Queen. So you can see this one once again. The Queen had put out, or the Queen didn't put them out, but there were 4 different types of stamps, different edgings, whether they were straight edges on one side or all 4 sides. And this one, my father just had the one that had the perforated edges on the side. Finding in 1994, they seem to do a lot of duplicate versions of stamps, different sizes of the same stamp. And these ones again, which are very interesting. And we go into 1995. So 1995 starts very similarly with the same type of stamps, but we've gone up to 45 cents now for regular postage rather than 43. And the war stamps from that year. The 30th anniversary of the Canadian flag. So even though we were a country for many years before that, we didn't get an individual flag away from the Union Jack until 1965. And then fortresses of Canada. So this one here is Louisbourg. And some of the different golf clubs, golf courses across the country. So if you're an avid golfer, maybe those are some courses you would like to see. And then we have some more historical land vehicles. Another sheet came out this year. This year, I mean 1995, not the present year of filming. In this case, he had a few of the singles as well as the sheet, so we put them in this book. And this is a group of 7 stamps that came out. My father did not get this one. Didn't tend to collect the full sheets over the stamps, the individual stamps, so you can see these are blank a lot of times, but then when you go into the single issue stamps, he's got them. So I don't know how good your group of 7 knowledge is of Canadian artists. And I can tell you mine is not good. My wife, though, studied art history, and so she is more knowledgeable when it comes to artists. Then you get into comic books. Superman, famously drawn by a Canadian. Covered Bridge, Heartland. I've shown that many, many times. Been there a few times and made videos. Different bridges in Canada. The Alex Fraser Bridge, drove over that many times when I lived out west. Arctic scenes. you're a butterfly fan, here we've got butterflies. I know Basil in India likes animals. We've got birds, bats. United Nations. Christmas one. These three nativity ones were all at the start of the book too. But once again, they had different edging on them, so they show as repeats in here. Puffins, lots of people like puffins. So there's a puffin stamp, came out in 1996. So that's where we're starting now. And the art stamp of 96. High-tech technology stamps. And more architectural stamps. We're now up to a $5 stamp. We've got some more historic land vehicles. Tractor trailers have changed a little bit since then. And you can see them there as a booklet. Another booklet. And over. And a lot of historic land vehicles here. Tractors, skidoos, military. Road groomers. Brooklyn, which is a car that was designed in New Brunswick. The only car that ever designed in New Brunswick. It had gull wings. You don't know what gull wings are. Those are the doors that go straight up to the side, like a seagull's wings, rather than out to the side. The DeLorean from Back to the Future is another famous car that had gull wings. Klondike. I actually mailed a postcard the other day that used some of these stamps. I had a few of them in mint still around, so I put them on a postcard. So if the person that receives them knows that those stamps were 20 years old. Canadian sporting heroes. Years of Canadian cinema. How many of these movies have you guys seen? I can tell you I've not seen any of them. It would have been the definitive sheet that went with it. And then the Winnie the Pooh stamps. You know, Wendy is a fan of Winnie the Pooh. How many of you are fans of Winnie the Pooh? So once again, it was a Canadian soldier. And had a pet bear, which he named after his hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, here in Canada. And then that bear went to the zoo in London. So it became the theme of many stories. But all originated from a Canadian soldier who brought a bear, or had a pet bear, during the First World War. Get some nice Christmas stamps. All the way down to these more unusual type shaped stamps. There you have it, 1994 to 1996 in Canadian postage stamps. Hope you enjoyed that. Different things coming out every year. When you see the stamps that come out now in 2022, how do you think they compare to the stamps that came back in the 90s or the 80s or the 50s or the 20s? I know technology and color and vibrancy has gotten stronger in each stamp, but themes still remain relatively the same. So one thing we need to get on is a post-crossing stamp. I did a video on that. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out, but it's something we should have here in Canada. So my advocacy for a post-crossing stamp is still strong, and hopefully it will come to be. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?